3 months of rain. In the tents it's cold and damp. Nothing is ever really dry for the 1,500 refugees in the tent camp outside Lisbon. Outdoors they walk about in the mud. It's cold. Only when the sun shines for a moment does the temperature rise to 5 or 6 degrees Celsius. Arriving from the tropical countries of Angola, Mozambique and Timor, most only had light clothes and the minimum of personal belongings. The children have their school, but most adults have little to do but walk around in the cold, wash clothes that never seem to dry, and hope for the future. Since the autumn of 1975, when the colonies in Africa and Asia became independent, almost 1 million people with Portuguese passports, so-called retornados, have streamed into Portugal from the former colonies. More than 100 people are still arriving in Lisbon every day. Many of them have never been to Europe before. This large stream of refugees has become a real burden to Portugal, where there was already a great housing shortage, and all the refugees have aggravated the situation. Many went into the countryside and settled in deserted houses, where they are now living precariously. Others have relatives with whom they could stay for a time, but many had no relatives or could not stay with them. The refugees were lodged in every possible room. Some were placed in hotels, while others were accommodated in prisons, hospitals, sports arenas, or in churches. This letter is to old friends in Mozambique. Perhaps they will never meet again. There is a state body for refugee assistance, but under the present circumstances, including widespread unemployment and the housing shortage, the state has had great difficulty in helping them all and sought the assistance of the voluntary agencies. For the Portuguese Red Cross, this refugee stream created new and important responsibilities. The new arrivals are received at the airport, and clothing, food and other necessities are distributed. There is also medical staff available. This palace in Lisbon was donated to the Portuguese Red Cross and is now used as its headquarters. From here, there's a fine view over the harbour, where the consignments from other Red Cross societies arrive, including clothing, blankets, milk powder, emergency food, and prefabricated houses. Red Cross societies from 24 countries have sent help valued at 8.5 million Swiss francs. Most of these consignments have at last reached the Red Cross temporary camp for 2,000 refugees outside Lisbon. The camp was set up at the request of the government during the summer of 1976. During summer, one can live in a tent, and other accommodation was promised by autumn. But autumn came, the winter was approaching, and no houses were seen. For 3 months it rained incessantly. During this time, the rainfall was more than twice the normal yearly average in Portugal, and with the temperature often down to freezing point during the night. The situation was desperate, and the Portuguese Red Cross appealed to the League of Red Cross Societies to provide temporary houses. The Red Cross societies of Sweden, Switzerland and Norway responded with 105 prefabricated barracks for the camp. Everyone is waiting for the houses which will provide warmth and shelter. Small children often play in the mud, with or without boots. In spite of large clothing consignments arriving from Red Cross societies, there is still a great shortage of shoes, boots and warm clothing for the newcomers. Many of the children have not been to school for the last 1 or 2 years. Some, coming from Timor, do not speak Portuguese. Now, most of the children go to schools near to the camp. The idleness of adults is one of the big problems. Many of them are untrained and do not know the language. There is quite a lot of voluntary work to do in the camp, including camp cleaning. To obtain a paid job, however, is nearly impossible in this country of unemployment. The communal laundry was built by the camp inhabitants. The women spend much of their time washing, but only with cold water. This family from Mozambique lives under canvas. They came to the camp in the summer of 1976. She has lived in Africa for 28 years. Her husband was born in Mozambique, and they have 2 daughters. The future in Portugal is dark. The father of this family was a train conductor. He spends his time trying to find a job. The family has been promised one of the new wooden houses. It will surely be a long time before they can get a permanent house and unpack their belongings brought from Africa. In the outskirts of the camp, there are a lot of large wooden crates containing the property of refugee families. The sign indicates the Red Cross dispensary, where all camp inhabitants can receive medical attention. Thanks to this dispensary, epidemics, pneumonia, and other illnesses have been avoided. At least one nurse is always in attendance, and a doctor comes once each day. It's nearly dinner time and the children arrive early. 1,000 people are served at the same time. It looks like a huge old-school refectory, but this canteen is very cold. The first barracks loaded on trucks arrive from the harbour. There is great expectation among those who have come to help unload them. When the building starts, it will provide jobs for some 60 men. The houses are made of impregnated shingle boards that do not need painting. The chairman of the Portuguese Red Cross officially accepts the houses. Representatives of the Swedish building firm demonstrate how the houses are put together. They only stay a few days, then the work is taken over by the refugees. At first they have to make a jig which serves as a model for all the wall sections. In this jig, the strips and the prepared boards are placed together and nailed in sequence, ready for assembling. The wooded hillside where the houses are to be placed is leveled into terraces. It's a hard job, and the machines easily sink into the mud. Work on the foundations was started in advance, but was unfortunately delayed because of the continuous rain. The prefabricated wall sections have to be fitted into the holes. Each barrack is 15 meters long and 5 meters wide, with space for 4 families with 1 room each. The houses are not intended as permanent dwellings. As soon as it's possible to arrange for another house and employment, the family will move on. The roof is made of corrugated sheets. Underneath, there's a layer of plastic foil and a wooden ceiling. At last, the first house is ready, and the family carry their belongings from the tent to their new home. The building activity goes on and the houses go up at great speed. In a little while, 400 families will move in. Meanwhile, the camp inhabitants are queuing, as usual, at the clothes store. Donated clothing continues to arrive in Portugal. Sweaters, dresses, trousers, shoes, and even ties and leather jackets are among the items to choose from. With the support of many Red Cross societies around the world, the Portuguese Red Cross has played a major role in meeting the emergency needs of the newly arrived refugees. Close coordination is ensured with Caritas, the Young Men's Christian Association, and the Protestant churches, which are helping to integrate these people into the community. Everything is under control, but the conditions are sometimes difficult. Some sizes are missing, some clothes are in greater demand than others. This baby has received warm winter wear. The family has selected clothing too and will soon be able to move into one of the new warm houses. All concerned will have to continue these programs in the months to come.